Hi everyone, welcome to the Brand the Change Brand Jam on Oatly. So great to have you here. First of all, what's Brand the Change? Brand the Change is a call to action to better sell the amazing ideas, products, and services for the social and environmental change that we so desperately need. And my name is Anna Miltenberg. I'm the author of the book Brand the Change and the founder of the Brandling, which is the education company that the book came out of. I'm super, super pleased to have all of you here because it's really like the book is just one of the tools. I think the more important thing is the conversations we have around this topic and the networks that we build. So Brand the Change is much more than just the book. It is a training format. It's a community. There are live events, online events, and the Brand Jam is one of the manifestations of what we believe in. We have several other events coming up, so if you love this session, be sure to check those out. We have the Lisbon meetup that you can now join from anywhere online, basically, hosted by Emily, Kanika, and Mariana. The Personal Branding Mastermind Group, which is a really cool initiative from Hanneke, Bas, and David. They are a group of community members that are supporting each other to build stronger personal brands. It's a topic that's getting ever more important, but it's really a tough one. You need someone to be your mirror. You can use maybe a confidence boost or reflection, really good constructive critical feedback. So check out the Personal Branding Mastermind Group for that. Then we have a new edition of Brand the Change Academy starting in April. This is a sprint version, so it's an 8-week brand building program with me. So I'm going to help you build your brand for change, take you through the methodology described in the book with a group of maximum 16 peers. So that's a really cool event that you could be part of. Then there's the Brand Thinking Canvas Facilitation course, which is online every day. This is our course for those brand professionals that want to use our tools to support others. It's on demand. You can take it anytime. You can take as long as you need to finish it. And it's where I'm basically sharing all of my experience on how to use the Brand Thinking Canvas in branding workshops and other co-creative processes and consultancy. Cool, let's get started on Oatly. So the goal for today is to build your brand thinking skills to really get to understand the framework underneath a strong brand, to get ideas for your own brand, but also to meet potential collaborators, because we have all these different types of talents on this call. So we have people from the field of branding. So I see copywriters, strategists, designers, etc. But we also have people who work on the other side, working to make set up companies for change. So really lovely to have those all in groups. So we hope we can do some good matchmaking there. We're going to use today to quickly do my personal intro to Oatly, because you guys will be doing the analysis with us. So I won't spend too much time on that. We'll do a little warm up, so you know at least one person in the room. Then we'll take an hour to do the Brand Jam in breakout groups. Because I think we're about 20 people right now, so we'll probably do groups of about 4, and then we'll come back together to share and compare and do some reflection on what we can take away from these sessions. Perfect, so let's get started on Oatly. Some of us have experienced this brand, some of us have not. Just a little personal backstory. I became a vegetarian when I was about 8, in an age where there was nothing in Europe, at least, or in the Netherlands, for vegetarians. Like our dog would not eat the one type of soy sausage that they had at the supermarket. So kind of to see the rise of veganism, the rise of vegan brands has been quite interesting for me, just from a personal perspective. And I was incredibly shocked when one day in Nairobi, Kenya, I saw this brand of oat milk on the shelf, and I looked at it. It was clearly very different from the type of like Unilever offering of other types of milks, like dairy replacements that we had on the shelf. So I was kind of fascinated, but it also looked, coming from the Netherlands, it looked like something I kind of already knew. So I wasn't I didn't understand fully why people love this brand so much. Then I went to Chicago, and I got out of the train, and yeah, then I was floored by their campaigns on location. They basically dominated the streetscape. So that was my inroad into Oatly. And since I started following them, what I really learned to admire was their very smart way, I think, of tapping into a kind of zeitgeist, being opinionated, being unafraid, or effing fearless, as they say. But most of all, because they really exemplify a kind of outlook on brand that I really think is so important if we want to build stronger brands for change, which is that they consider, like, the people who work on the Oatly brand consider themselves the department of mind control. And I think for some of us, depending which countries we live, probably that sounds either very funny or very scary, because actually we know what it's like to live in a place that has a department of mind control. So this idea that through branding you direct how people think and feel about you, I think Oatly is the perfect representation of that. The other idea that I think would be interesting for, like, when we're analyzing this brand, is how they're able to kind of broaden the tent for plant-based drinks. So again, like when I was a kid, the tent for that I always use as the metaphor, like there were people who were lactose intolerant or vegetarians, and they were always the target of these types of products. But these days, what you see is they've managed to kind of broaden the tent in the sense that a lot more people are invited to the party and are invited to join those movements. And it'll be fun to see how they've actually done that. Then when I started diving into the history of how the brand had evolved, I also discovered, like, oh, but they started out as, just your average kind of food processing company, and how they would brand their products, and it made a big shift. So that's always an interesting sign that there's someone who's thinking like a brand strategist and who understands how to bring this to a bigger market. So that's how I at least got introduced to Oatly. I'm looking forward to hear more from you guys, how you experience this brand. I know that I think we have a couple of people also in the group who were connected to this project and have some insights. So that's pretty exciting. I'm really curious to hear more from all of you guys. So I'm going to ask you to stay on the Zoom call while Wanjiru is going to share a Miro link in the chat. If you haven't ever used Miro, you should be able to just get in without making an account. And it's a really, I think it's a really genius whiteboard app that we love to work with, and they really enable a lot of these interactive sessions. So if it all works out, you should be seeing this board. And if you're having trouble, let us know. Again, if you're on a phone, it might be really hard to get in here. But you should, if you're on a desktop, things should go quite smoothly. Cool. Great. So what we're going to do today is we're going to analyze Oatly in groups, and we have a set of canvases ready for each group. We'd love to ask you to, we're going to take 40 minutes to work on the first canvas and 20 minutes to work on the second one. We're going to try and create groups with people who have experience working on the canvas in each group, so that if you want or need any support or to understand how these elements work, that you can join them. We're going to do a little Miro warm up. Wanjiru is going to lead that, so that if you haven't worked with Miro before, you'll understand how you can kind of use it to analyze the brand and create the canvas.
So we're going to get started. This is going to be very fast paced. And if everyone can join me to the extreme left of the canvases, you'll see we have 3 boards numbered 1, 2, and 3. And so the first thing we're going to do is the birthday lineup. So we have a timeline with all the months of the year. And basically, this is exercising the use of sticky notes. And we're going to grab a sticky note from the menu on the left of your screen and just go to the month of your birthday and paste it there and write your name in it. Okay, I think we're done with the first part. We're going to move on to the second canvas. Just scroll downwards. And now we're going to plan a trip. So we're going to find images on the internet or that you may have on your computer, and you're going to paste them in here, and we're going to have tour around the world, dream trip, unlimited budget. So pick a photo, you can drag it into Miro. You can also copy and paste it if you have it on your computer, or you can copy the link if it's online and just paste it in here, and we're going to see what we can achieve if we went on a trip with an unlimited budget. Yes, so we're going to move on to the final board. And this time we're going to create a Beyonce gallery. So I'm sending you out into the internet to find an article on Beyonce, a music video, an amazing portrait of her if you can. And we're going to create a gallery on Beyonce and put it together.
Great, thanks, Manju. Hopefully you feel, if you haven't worked with Miro before, you'll feel a little bit more comfortable. So you'll know how to use stickies, you know how to lock things, you know how to paste interactive links in there, and how to put photos in. And all of those things we're going to use in our analysis. Because what we're going to do is each in your own group, we're going to pull apart the Oatly brand. And as I mentioned before, we're going to have 40 minutes for the first canvas and 20 for the second before we come back together. I'm going to walk around the rooms more or less and join you guys and hear about the different conversations. If for some reason the tools are blurry on your screen, you can refresh and then they should come into full focus. So you should be able to see them more or less like this. So for those of you who haven't worked with the canvas before, so it's really a way to translate this idea of the core of a brand, so what's on the inside, your vision for the future, the values that drive you, the things that you're committing to the outer layer, so your identity, how do you express that through the visual and the verbal identity, and then all the different touch points. So all the ways that you interact with your audiences, that's canvas one. And for the second canvas, we look at that purpose again, and from that purpose, who are the different audiences that the brand has, what do we want them to think and feel about the brand, and how are we going to achieve that? So we're going to do all of that through the perspective of the Oatly brand. I'm going to open the breakout rooms. Feel free to join them. If you have any questions along the way, you can step back into the main room. You can message me or Wanjiru. Wanjiru will also be walking around. Hopefully you'll have a fun team, meet some new people, and I'm very curious what you think the Oatly brand is all about.
Oh, too late.
So rough. I was part of a call like this the other day myself, and normally I'm the one who presses the close button, and you don't realize like how stressful it is when you start to see those seconds. Cool. What was that like? Fun, like, or like, oh, totally confusing, frustrating?
Well, Andreas will explain how he feels.
Oh, okay.
I had big technical problems and was frustrated and couldn't read the canvases and stuff like that.
Oh, sorry, Andreas.
Yeah, no problem.
I hope your teammates made up for that.
that we
Cool.
were a great team together.
I was just really curious because we have 5 groups, and we're going to see like 5 vastly different probably interpretations of the same brand. I just wanted to check maybe group 1, would you be able to kind of capture your outcome in like a short 1 or 2 minute summary, because we can all join you on the first canvas to see what you've created. I'll bring everyone to me.
All right. Let's see who were there.
Whoa, that's awesome.
We had a lot of fun. Is anyone of this group who would like to take the lead here? Or is it?
We give you the lead.
I mean, help me out. Because we were having fun with the outer rings, but the inner rings were more difficult. As usually when a brand like this is talking about purposes, for example, it's hard to dissect whether we're talking about mission or vision or what the values are exactly, because it's obviously turned into a value-driven company. I mean, the values are expressed more heavily into something which is more natural, organic, bold, and expressive. And it's very honest what they're talking about, and it's especially um, the transparency is appealing. For us, it was quite difficult to see what the brand essence was exactly, how to put that down, and we tried a little bit in the right board to get into the essence, before you shut our mouths. We were trying to see whether it's the best oats with the planet in mind, or the best plant-based products, or what exactly the essence of the brand essence is here, because from a how would you say, from a strategic point of view, you would like to actually they would like to overtake the dairy market, and to replace that for something which is more healthy and more good for the planet. And that's a business point of view, you could say, but it's not clear whether that would be something to express in the brand essence field. But
Yeah, I think a
obviously
lot
they
of the
want to
other
make the
groups
best oats.
struggled with that as well, like because we're reverse engineering, so we're taking clues from everything that we're seeing in the outer ring and reverse engineering where that could be coming from.
Actually, that's what we say, that we from the outside to the inside.
Yeah, cool. What do you think is the challenge that Oatly needs to solve, Buzz, as a brand?
I don't know yet. I don't know what they're. Of course, there's somebody talked about lawsuits against the dairy market lobby. So the whole milk thing is obviously an issue. And it's not completely clear for people who are not involved what harm does milk do to the planet.
Yeah, so I think they're basically trying to cheerlead us all towards a plant-based society.
Yeah. Well, and
also
I
those
think
who
they're
might not naturally be inclined to be
yeah.
interested in that.
I think they basically succeed for now, I would say. So what their challenge is to put up the gas, but and to develop different products, maybe.
Maybe interesting to hear from a group who has a few less stickies, but Marika, I know that your group, let me see, you guys were group 3 or 4? Let me see, group 4.
Group 4.
Yeah, we already did some selection. So
Oh, good.
we clustered every time we had a group of stickies that were somewhere around saying the same. We clustered them and together we decided which was the best phrasing of the thing, because usually you have a few things that are more or less the same. So we
Yep.
did a lot of selection already. So we have
Very good.
less notes.
Mm. Yeah, and so you have the towards the plant-based society as the essence.
Yeah, but
Um,
that was preliminary.
Okay.
We were not sure about that. So we put
Sure.
that as for now, and we thought
Mhm.
we'd come back to that later. Only we never had the time to come back to it. But that's for now, that was the best thing we could come up with.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Cool. What do you think is the challenge, Marika, that this brand needs to address?
Well, maybe the challenge is to broaden their audience, because I have to admit, before I dove into this brand, I thought it was just another hipster brand. I thought it was quite of annoying. Um, but now that I researched them, I know it's authentic and it's really coming from their core. So I think that's the big challenge. For me, that's the big challenge to get it beyond this. Yeah. That's another hipster brand that I find in those fancy coffee shops, blah, blah, blah. So for me, that's a challenge. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I'm just going to go to this board here on the right and make some notes. So broaden the audience for plant-based.
Yeah, because I think I am actually a target group, because I am not a vegetarian, but I'm eating less and less meat. And I know that in my age group, a lot of people are like that. So I think I am actually the target group, also a target group. But I'm not appealed by this. So that's a choice they make. So
Why are you not appealed, if I may ask? Only about the visual identity, or?
no, the wording, and because I didn't know it was authentic, so it felt like kind of like pretentious to me all the time. Yeah. So, but maybe that's personal. I don't know.
So all the, I think it's a really interesting point, Marika, because all the elements that you kind of capture on the first canvas, do you think they're also the hallmark of a particular generation? Like it's a brand built for a particular, like it's not, because I always feel like the death of any brand is when they say they want to appeal to everyone, because it's like, yeah, if you're going to be everything to everyone, you're going to be nothing to nobody. And so they've definitely made a very specific choice. I think everything that you're seeing in their communication appeals to people who believe in a certain thing and who look at the world in a certain way. And that's certainly a much broader group than maybe 10 or 15 years ago. But the tone of voice is definitely one of the identifiers where I feel like, oh, this is definitely made for a group of people that I potentially am not a part of.
No, I appreciate it a lot now that I know that it's authentic. So that's the thing. I think they have to keep doing what they're doing, because I think now that I know it's authentic, I think it's brilliant. So I think their challenge is to make me and believe it's authentic, and then I don't mind anything, because then I know it comes from something real and it's just not pretending.
Yeah. Perfect.
Can I add something?
Yes.
But I totally agree with you, and I believe that they are embarked in one kind of an audience. Because I mean, if you see the communication and how they talk and how they express their messages is totally not for our generation. The 80s generation is for the millennials and the ones who are coming back, generations that are going further. I mean, it's not how they are using the channels and the campaigns is a lot about visuals and make it easier. And if you see the website, for example, they have created like a group about, for example, how do you talk to your father about milk, right? And this is a message directly for younger generations. So they don't have this adult, me in mind. They have other kind of people in mind. So maybe you're totally right, Marika, about what you were saying about this is not a message directly to you. It's a message for someone else. So their challenge will be to amuse or loft the other kind of generations who are trying to break the gap between not being a vegetarian 100%, but converting somehow more sustainability into their routines.
Yeah, I agree. I don't mind that they don't appeal to my generation, but that won't stop me from buying the product if I believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one of the insights I got from a friend of mine who's in advertising is he said, well, like, for instance, the street advertising that they do where they kind of mock the fact that they're advertising, that's a very specific hallmark of advertising. No, sorry, someone is making a cappuccino in the background. I'm gonna turn you.
Yeah.
Oof, thanks. Woo, it's worse than nails on a blackboard. Like that's these days always in their briefing whenever they're doing advertising for, let's say, everyone born who's now between 12 and 35, is they think they're immune to advertising and therefore you need to poke fun at advertising because otherwise, it doesn't sit in the right cultural space. So that was when I first saw the street advertisement, I was like, okay, now I'm understanding a little bit better what their strategy is. Leonie, you have your gorgeous digital hand up.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I really enjoy this conversation, and made me think also of the video that we watched before coming into this. And I think for what I took out of that as their current challenge is that the world has changed a little bit, and where the brand was before was very niche and very focused on people with dietary problems, allergies, these kinds of things. Now they turn more into a lifestyle brand. So people actively choose their product and their brand for what they represent, for what they stand for, because of their values, because of their purpose, and because that matches with their values. So I think definitely it made me think of this because we are talking now about their target audience, and that definitely has changed. I wouldn't know if that is really age-based. I would say it's more lifestyle-based. And what I liked about the model is, the visual identity, how I guess the visual way of communicating is a little bit more hipster. It's very disruptive. It's very different. It's not at all like how other dairy products communicate. So it's very new. So that might appeal more to younger audiences. That was my 2 cents.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because that was one of the first reasons why I felt like they weren't authentic. When I saw the packaging on the shelf and I thought, oh, they're trying to look handmade and artisanal and authentic, but it's still like one of those Tetra Pak packagings, that is actually printed with like an eco-friendly paper. I was like, no one will go for this.
Yeah.
Well, anyway, if people listen to me, the internet would not have happened. Online shopping would never have gotten big. So I'm not a good forecaster and all.
Actually, if you have seen the video, he explains it there in a different way that they particularly wanted this packaging to be like that. Like they would just turn it around and people start reading, and they wanted it to seem as if that they just made the packaging in the basement, actually. So apparently, yeah, they wanted to have something casual, and also something important that all the milk products are just pouring from either left or right, and then they wanted it to be like in the front, like this one that I show in the
you have it there, yeah.
in the video. That I mean, yeah, we use Oatly actually at home. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah, they want to do it on purpose actually, like this.
Yeah,
they
are contrarian.
I guess it's also because it's such a commodity item that was always basically boring or healthy. This is kind of kicking against it for, well, I guess the first time-ish. I mean, there's always been soya-based drinks and whatever, but it's always been like, oh, now you're going to be healthy and that's it, without anything else really.
Yeah.
So that automatically makes them stand out as like a, well, almost first mover advantage kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah, because they totally went past all the other soy-based and indeed like all of the plant-based drinks that looked like they were all Unilever.
Yeah, they're all the same
products. Yeah,
and those have been existing for years already. So
yeah, cool. Lungi, you have your hand up.
Yeah, so I was kind of really interested with the whole lawsuit that happened and how they took that and kind of played around with it. So that little diagram where they did an illustration of straight from oats to drink instead of, via the cow. So we talked about how there's a focus on skipping the middle cow. But I'm curious in terms of the challenges that the brand needs to overcome if they are positioning more as a lifestyle type of brand to younger people maybe, or younger generations who are more conscious, how that plays out in other markets. Because I must say for me, in my circle of friends, plant-based is still like, ooh, wow, you're really moving. it's not a regular thing. And also because I think as young as we may be, the cultural connotations of things like cattle and all of that still come through in our way of thinking. So I would really be curious to see how does it perform like in the African markets, compared to other parts of the world, because here, I guess, people eat meat, etc. But there's so much that's tied to things like cattle that comes through with cultural celebrations, with rites of passage, with milestones. So I'm curious to think, just from a thinking point of view, how difficult it might be for some people to make that break, to cut away from that in their mind and actually become really serious plant-based consumers. So that will be interesting to see.
Yeah, it's a really interesting perspective if you look at it from different cultures, like in the Far East where milk isn't a thing and they've been drinking plant-based beverages forever. You'll have to take a completely different positioning potentially as a brand. In Africa, like also here in Kenya, like the first time I saw a billboard for soy drink, I was like, ooh, someone's really pushing the American cultural agenda here. And so, there is also, I always feel like there's that kind of, the cultural colonization of like everything that comes out of, let's say, Western countries that becomes a trend that's sometimes taken from other places, but now distributed, and how does it land in different places. And I know that Tony Chocolonely, which is another brand that we've done case studies on, they're trying to move from the Netherlands into the US market, for instance, but their story doesn't really work so well there. And so I think making the leap to another country is always also a very interesting brand challenge. I see that we're going a bit over time, so I just wanted to check in for those of you who are still here. So two things actually. So when we're doing these analysis, unless we have someone from the brand in the group, which would be lovely, we of course don't actually know what is 100% the truth. So we're making all of these assumptions. But I find that there's real sport in making those assumptions, and there's a real joy in kind of debating, like, is it left, is it right, like, what are these different elements? And so what me and Wanjiro are going to do is we're going to create a full case study based on our analysis of Oatly from the outside as well. And we're going to take all of your notes and work it into that. And we're going to share that PDF with all of you, hopefully not too far from today. As a, oh, Erik, you have your hand up. Jump in.
Yeah, sorry. Can I, if you're going to make that analysis, I was just wondering one thing, what I'm struggling with myself a bit. I don't know if you're all aware, but 2 months ago, they got really a lot of anger from people online because a big investment company who also supported Trump's campaign invested a lot of money in Oatly. Sorry. And well, my first reaction was, what the hell? I'm not gonna buy this brand. Then I was, of course, Googling, and I saw their CEO saying, if we want to grow, we need money from investors. Why not take money from the bad ones? Because then they're investing in something good instead of we're keeping it all in the same sustainable area, if you know what I mean. I thought it was quite an interesting point of view, and I'm still, I don't know, I'm thinking about it myself, and I was very curious for all your opinions on that.
I 100% fall to that line of thinking. I mean, you need a lot of money to scale these types of companies. So if you can use money that's currently investing in oil, for instance, or in the petro industry, and it's seeing this as a great money-making opportunity, then you're basically pulling away money from the other side into a sustainability. So I think it's an absolute, like, I understand that that there is some moral outrage, and I think there's a lot of black and white thinking, but I think that's really, you know, a limited, for me, that's a very limited point of view. Like, if as a company trying to make a difference, you are so extremely limited by all of the ways that other companies have no problem in growing, that you can really, you can't expect these companies to just purely get there in a bootstrapping fashion or from angel investors. So I personally think it's really good, but I'm also always open to change my mind. Of course, Leonie has a hand up.
Yeah, I love the question, and I also wanted to join in, but I agree with you. You need the money, and there's nothing wrong with getting the money from investors. I do think, however, that it's important to, you know, also discuss investor expectations, because that is why in many big corporations change is still not happening. That's because of, you know, like, the immense power money has and these investors have, and if they, you know, don't share the brand purpose, don't share the vision of the brand, don't share, you know, what this company represents, ultimately there's a high chance of getting into a clash, and then it can be dangerous, because then money is power, and, you know, who wins. So I do see why this could be a problem, you know, if an investor with this kind of reputation steps up.
Yeah. There's a really, you just triggered a thought, Leonie. There's a really interesting article on the community website on Unilever, and their kind of big leap towards sustainability. And a number of research journalists from the Netherlands have really picked apart the whole story about Unilever and becoming like the world's largest NGO, as their former CEO used to say. And it really tracks also, like, what is the investor influence, and how do how does it actually play out? So for instance, the fact that they use their own labels and their own standards to measure sustainability. And I thought that was a really amazing eye-opening article as well on exactly what you're highlighting.
Yeah,
Cool.
actually, that makes me think about an interview that I saw the other day with Alan Jope, the new CEO of Unilever. I can share it here in the chat, and he also talks about like he's amazing. Like he's such a visionary, and so yeah, like Unilever is huge, but you know they really come from this place of purpose and vision, and like all of the stuff that we are discussing. And he also talks about that and his view on that, and also the his view on like, because I totally also agree with what you guys are saying. You know, it's a little bit yeah, you cannot do without the money, so it has to be there. That would be a bit naive. So yeah, I'll share this interview here in the chat. I think lots of people might find it interesting. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks for sharing. I'd just be really interesting to see, like, I guess for all of us, whether we're kind of brand professionals or building our own brands, like what could you steal like an artist from Oatly? So what would be the flowers for Oatly? What do you think you would love to do a little bit more of what they do in their brand building practice? I'm going to actually join that one myself, because I think there's a couple of things that I find really useful. I'm just going to use some sticky notes if you guys want to follow along. Okay, let's see. Having such a strong stance and living up to it. Inspired by being transparent. I also think that certain things that they do, like putting on the front of the package the carbon footprint, I think it'll be interesting to see, like, because it's kind of like a race to the bottom. So is this gonna make all of us want to have like something on our packaging that will be a little less than the next one? I think that would be really good. Oh,
I wonder if everyone starts doing this or starts copying this, because they obviously see the success of Oatly stuff, that it becomes like one of those labels again. But I guess we'll have to see. I mean, you have so many certified whatever green label, free choice, free range, whatever stickers, to the point that you don't see it anymore.
One of I think the interesting thing about their success is, I'm sure that it will be a lot of the Unilever type of companies will try and emulate it, either by buying it into the portfolio or building brands like this themselves. And it'll be interesting to see which ones are able to do that in an authentic way and which are not. For those of you who hadn't seen that article, Marika shared a really lovely article on the rise of the bland, the BLAND. It's on the community as well. And it's basically looking at challenger brands, which is, I guess, the category that Oatly is in as well. And talking about the formula that these challenger brands kind of use for their stories, and the fact that it's kind of become a template and very predictable. So I guess it'll be a good question to see whether Oatly will have to, at some point, take a stronger position again, because there's so many people following suit, daring to be radically different. Yeah. What would you say is a flame? What do you think is a weakness? What do you think they could do better? What will bring them down? This is really something I have to think about. Adapting to different countries might be hard. Yeah, the hipster look is something like that. Why do you have the plastic lid? Yeah, good questions. Is that Guillermo by any chance? Yeah. I think one of the interesting things, I'm not sure if you guys remember, Innocent, but Innocent, the smoothie brand, was kind of was quite early and also quite bold and daring, and then it kind of just became, they went too broad into all kinds of other things, and they kind of just got a little blah. Like 10 years ago, Innocent was just the example for everyone, and now you never hear it about it anymore. So, Belle.
Oh, just to mention, because Innocent was bought by Coca-Cola. That's a that was
the
death parting of the exactly the day they were bought. We knew that okay, go on.
That's an interesting one, by the way. I was in touch with someone at Ben & Jerry's 2 years ago, and Ben & Jerry's was also bought by Unilever, and I think Ben & Jerry's originally was quite a strong brand, and Unilever is trying to keep it alive, and they're investing quite a bit in it, but it's I think it definitely has lost some of its.
Well, this touches to the remark of Eric, right? Because you can get investors from a certain industry, but too much is killing you.
Yeah.
Exactly. How do you make the balance between growing and still being in the independent kind of?
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think that's really cool. So one of the things that one of the first articles that I wrote that was published in the Stanford Social Innovation Review was about like social impact is not going to be differentiating forever, and when it does, you're going to have to like base the brand on something more than that. And so we sometimes think of, or we've written about like examples of like how can you differentiate through better design, or and we even have an example of a brand that's based on sexiness, which you don't find so much in the social impact space. So I find that differentiator that's really needed if these markets get really saturated. That'll be really interesting to see these brands grow in that. Cool. Thanks, guys, for joining me. Everyone's more than happy to you're more than welcome to stay online and have more chats, but I do also want to be mindful of the time, and I know there's a lot of people in here who have super busy agendas. So what I wanted to make sure so we have everyone, you all RSVP'd on the event, so we'll make sure that we share the recording there. For the other people who weren't there, as well as that case study that we'll be creating. We'd love to have your feedback on that, so we won't be sending you like a finished file, but rather something in progress, and then maybe we can continue the conversation there. I'd love to do this more often and see if we can dive in. Next time, what we hope to do is have the people from the brand itself present, so that they can actually shine a light on what is it in that box that we've been trying to get our heads around. But thanks for joining. I hope this was fun and insightful. If you have any feedback, you know where to find me. I know that we always have we're trying to find our way with tools and technology. It's not always as easy. Yeah, Leonie.
No, I was just clapping. I thought it
Oh,
was.
okay. Thank you. Thank you. Cool. And also thanks for some of you who know the tools really well, who stepped up and kind of helped guide some of the breakout rooms. I really, really appreciate it. So if you have time to join us for next one, I just wanted to make sure you know what we all have going on again. So that's the Lisbon meetup. That's Emily and Kanika, who you've seen on this call. They're hosting that meetup, and even though they're in Lisbon, it is of course now online because of COVID. Hanneke, David, and Bas you met today as well, are hosting the Personal Branding Mastermind Group. I think that's on the 28th or the 29th, Bas?
29.
29th. So they're helping people who are trying to build their personal brands to reflect and to be accountable and actually get it done this year, because it's becoming increasingly important. Yeah, our other courses. So if you want to get updates on our events, you can snap a quick photo of this guy. That'll get you signed up for the events newsletter, and you can indicate whether you want to receive notifications for online or physical locations as well. Cool. Thanks so much for hanging out with us.
Amazingly prepared.
You know, it's my husband is a big sneezer. Yeah, it's a funny thing. Like we've been doing online things for 4 years, and I was just saying to Belle, like there's 1,000 things that can always go wrong. We're always trying to improve on these formats, and the good thing is that these are huge conversations, and like I could talk about Oatly probably for a number of days with all of you. Yeah, all of the opportunities we'd have to talk more. I'm really looking forward to them.